Hello, everyone. My name is Kateryna Gridina. I'm lead engineer in Zalando, and I have a talk. The topic of my talk is I'm developer choice. At first, I name it I'm developer crisis, but I realized that I'm developer crisis probably not the best positive word for that, because, you know, we're all afraid of those kind of words. So yeah, I use this one. So what is the agenda today? So first of all, we will talk about why did we stuck in boredom. If we stuck in boredom, then it will be about your vision, if you have one, about small steps and the big steps in your career, and Q&A section. Sounds good? Okay. Everyone is sleeping. Anyways, so why did we stuck in boredom? Who knows why? Okay, let me ask you these questions. Like, who is very happy at work? Like, never thought about changing anything, always know what to do, what's gonna be next? Whoa, 3, 4? Okay, good. So I hope there are some people that still like questioning their choices in life and think, okay, what's gonna happen next? What will be my next milestone in life? And this sometimes is quite complicated decision, or maybe we make it complicated, but today we'll try to help you to find out what it is about and how we can overcome this obstacle. And actually, I wanna also ask you about who has a vision of what they're gonna do in 5 years, let's say. Interesting, the people who didn't put their hands up before, when I ask if they're happy about their work, having a vision, I'm like confused now. Anyways, let's continue then. So there is a nice schema that was proposed by Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi. I'm not sure if I pronounced it correctly, but I hope so. And it displays what actually is boredom and when do we get there. So you can see that sometimes we have low challenges and low abilities, and we kind of, yeah, a little bit sad. Then we have boredom when we have abilities, but we don't have a real challenge in our life. And also we have relaxation when we have kind of low knowledge and a lot of changes, and so on. So like you can see from this diagram where you can be somehow in this diagram. So not so many people currently are in the flow. Not so many of you can say, okay, yeah, I have a lot of abilities, I have a lot of knowledge, and I'm actually having a lot of challenge in my life. Or if you have, it's amazing and keep going. But the reality is it changes quite often. So we go from flow to boredom to apathy, arousal, and so on. So this is the main cause of our issues at work. And one of the biggest challenges that I think we have is the vision that we have. So if we don't have a vision what we want to do in our life, what we want to do in 5 years in our career, we're kind of confused. Like, okay, what do I do? Why am I doing what am I doing? And even if you are happy now, sometimes you will be not happy in like half a year, because you kind of don't know where you're moving. And you will be like surprised when you're moving not in the right direction. And like where all this talk started for me was I was working in Zalando for 4 years, and I was like, I woke up one day and was like, again? I was like, no, I don't know. I'm not sure if I really want to go. I was like, a little bit confusing feeling for me, but I decided, okay, now it's time for change. And I went to interviews. So I went to 15 interviews. So if you are developers, probably most of you are, you know what means interview for developer, right? You have like first interview, second interview, coding task, and so on, and I had 15 of them. And it got for me like 15 interviews to realize that the problem is not my job, the problem is actually myself, because in the end, you will come to the point in any job that you will find yourself not in your place. And this is because you just don't have a vision what you're gonna do and why are you doing this. So you switch from you jump from one job to another, to third, to fourth, and then at some point you just like, okay, 1 year after, I'm bored. What do I do? Next job. And this repeats all over again, and this is all stressful, and we know that, so have a vision. This is the main problem. So if you're in a situation like I was before, and you think like, okay, your company is quite good, your team is quite good, but you're kind of not ready yet to change the job, you need to think about the fact that you need to change the job by keeping it. And this sounds a little bit confusing, but this is the thing that I will suggest you to do, or at least try to do if you are not ready to change your job. And for me, it was quite interesting to prepare this talk because I interview a lot of developers, and those developers were changing their jobs, changing their life completely, or they changed the way how they look at jobs, and they share some insights of their life for me. And I kind of tried to analyze and figure out some common things that bring us to the point when we are not happy. So, what can we do already without the radical change? Are there any ideas? What can we do without changing the job if we are, I don't know, not happy? Let's change the job, right? Just go to the interview, the easiest way. Yeah, but there are more ways of doing that. So, first thing that I figured out, the common problem was the boring task. You come to job, you have the same task over and over and over and over again. And this like be changing the button, fixing small code, fixing the bug. And people start to be like, okay, why am I doing this? It's like so boring for me. So I had people, like I interviewed people who had these issues before and they solved them quite successfully. And they're the tips that they shared, is to try to do code reviews for open source projects. So if you like bored with your own tasks, just go and try to review others' code in open source, because sometimes it's very interesting and useful. Another thing that you can do is to take a side project. Probably you all know about this, but anyways, it's kind of an interesting way to look at it. If you're bored with your task, you can take another task that you kind of imagine for yourself. Another thing is, which also a lot of people tell me that they have fun with, is to bug reporting. So you figure out some bugs in other systems and you just bug reporting to them. And another one is solve puzzles and tasks in Stack Overflow or any other system that you find. So this is kind of how you can enlighten your boring tasks if you don't want to change the job. So if you have lack of communication, this happens to some people who work in like small companies. They don't have a lot of people around them, and they lack of communication for that. And again, the tips for that are to go to meetups at hackathons and workshops. So there you will meet a lot of people and you will communicate a lot. So basically you will have another life after your job, so which means that you will like have bigger circle of your communication. Of course, visit the conference, which you already do. You can become a speaker, and or like become a speaker or create a meetup in your city or town where you live. And this will bring you to the point when you have so many different people around you and who will be able to help you and with whom you communicate, and then will be much more interesting for you to go to your job knowing that afterwards you will do something cool. You also can try to organize conference or meetup by yourself. This also will bring you to people, and not only to developers, but mostly to other people, like organizers, some coaches, and so on and so forth. So this will be also nice. Or you can become a mentor. You cannot imagine how many people need mentors now. So if you have a lack of communication, you can find some student or whatever to just help you to have more communication with them, or even 2 or 3 students, or even a group of people, and then you will see that actually you have more communication with people, and this can be happier for you. You can have lack of challenge. This is a little bit different from the boring task. Sometimes you have like quite okay task, but still you miss like very complicated thing. And what you can do is to change technology. I know it's risky. It's sometimes very, very complicated for people who like used to their own like comfort zone, but sometimes it's a real good solution, especially if you work in a big company. It can be the thing that you can change from one team to another. You can become a mentor. which also quite good thing for the challenge, because mentoring people is a very challenging thing, because obviously you know already a lot, so you can mentor others. You can record podcasts. You can write articles or books. Start blogging to kind of make your life a little bit more active in this case, or start video content. If you have lack of prominence, what can you do in this case? In case if you're kind of missing some, you want to be kind of a star, because like a lot of people were saying, okay, I'm a good developer, but I'm missing this kind of feeling that I'm really, really good. And this can give you only when you have some prominence in community. And what can you do? You can review another people's code. You can apply for talks or workshops. You can start blogging, and you can record podcasts if you're having this kind of, want to have this kind of experience. You can write an article or book, create video content, or organize or help to organize some conferences. For me, it was the thing that we had women tech makers, and I realized, okay, we have a lot of people in Berlin who really, really want to learn iOS, but there was no people who had like mentorship in this area, and Women Tech Makers is like organization for diversity. And then I realized, okay, I can be the mentor, because I was kind of a little bit bored in my job. So I created this group, and we had, I guess, 15 people who were coming, and we had session once a week, and we provided like some lessons for them to help them to like rise as a developers. And afterwards, we had like 5 people who got the job of iOS developers, which never had this experience. And I think this is very inspiring and good thing to have, because you're kind of feeling like you're giving back to community, and this is something that might be a long-term project for you and a preparation for bigger steps in your like career. Maybe you will even switch to be a teacher, or to, I don't know, writing blog posts, or to have your own school. We don't know. What will we do if the communication cycle is too narrow? Who has this issue, by the way? That you feel like you're talking to the same people all over again every time? Yeah, some people, okay, good. So what can you do is, I heard from a lot of different developers that they had this feeling, but it's not a good reason to actually change your job if you like have a good job. But they decided to go to co-working spaces and meet people there. And this way you kind of, if you have this issue, you just go to co-working space 1 or twice a week, and you can work there and communicate to people. You can apply to talks, workshops, organize conferences, become a mentor, or become a member of any developer organization. And there are so many developer organizations you can become. So you will probably never be bored of the circle of communication that you have. This is like small tips that we all have. But also we have a lack of self-development. And if you have a lack of self-development, what you can do and what can help you a lot is also to change technology. I have a very good specialist in my company who was iOS developer, and he was bored. And at some point he said, like, you know, I will just change technology. I want to do I guess he did Scala. And he said like, whoa, that was the biggest challenge that I have for a long time, because he is an iOS developer for 10 years. And he never, ever tried anything new. So for him, this was like, first, very uncomfortable. He felt like, okay, what's happening there? I don't know anything. I am super lost. And this kind of shook him a little bit, because he thought, okay, I know everything already in development. But no, when you change technology, it's like super stressful and a crazy thing, and you feel like uncomfortable. The people who did it ever in their lives, they know that it's not very comfortable. I guess I have this. Okay. So when do we have a time for the big change? Like we decided, okay, I tried a lot, I did everything that I could, I don't like my job, or I don't like the career that I have, what to do in this case? What would you do in this case? Do you have any ideas? For the interviews in which company? The same level company, the different company?
Maybe it's different. So maybe a startup, you are working in a
Okay, so the one idea would be to change the company, right? Or change the environment you're working at. Or size of the company. Something else? Like if you're bored, what would you do? Or if you want to change? Any other ideas? Did somebody think about something else? What options do you have? So basically, the only option that you are like kind of can realistically think of is to change the job, right? Change the company, smaller size, bigger size, whatever, right? But actually, there are so many more alternatives, and I can share them with you. So, freelancer, not anyone even mentioned this, but this can be a big change for you, because as a freelancer, you have a lot of different challenges. I talked to a lot of developers who are freelancers and very successful and famous freelancers on the market, and they said the biggest challenge was the changing from the job where everything kind of set up for you to change to freelance job where nothing is set up for you. You need to find always clients, you need to be your own marketing team, you need to be your own like designer team and so on, and this might be very challenging, especially for people who are not communicative so much. So it can be complicated. These are the pros, this is the cons of this position, but also pros that you have a lot of free time, you can kind of practice different technologies, you don't have to ask other people more or less about this, so you are on your own and you do whatever you feel like doing. But in the same times, from this is coming that you don't have anyone who can support you in this case, or like review your code, or even like say, okay, this solution is not the best. So you should be very, very self-confident if you go to freelance, and sometimes it can be a super complicated challenge. One thing that I was suggested to do, if you want to go to freelance, you shouldn't say, I will work 8 hours a day, or I will work 6 hours a day. What you should say is like commit to deadline. For example, I'm committing to do it till the end of this month, or till the end in 2-3 months, but never say I will work like a certain amount of time a day, because then the complications started. So this is something take away. Another point here also, that if you want to go to freelance, you always need to save your work. What you're doing is like having portfolio, because sometimes application coming and going, then you don't have anything to show. And always, always read NDA, because sometimes they're tricky. I already told that. Books and articles, and now people are like, oh, whatever, books and articles, who is writing a book nowadays? But yeah, actually a lot of people wrote books about that, and Paul, just before me, had a book, and he wrote several books, and there are other people who writing book about development, and they have never thought about this before, but this is one of the things that you can do if you want to have a break and or time out from your job, real day job, or even if you want to do this professionally. So many platforms now allow you to actually write books and sell them. One thing which is a little bit complicated here is that you need to be very fast in writing your books, because when you write the book, the information is redundant very fast, especially in technical word, so it might be complicated. Also, the lifetime of a book is quite small, so you need to promote it quite good. So you need to promote it well, so it sells during first 2 weeks the best, and then it will go down. So when you will start to think about this, or if you want to do this, you can always think about the way that you should think about marketing too of your book. And if you ever want to have a book, you always can find people who have done this, and they can always suggest you how to do it in the best way. There are also a lot of bloggers and online courses. There are so many developers who started their own blogs, and they do money from marketing, from promoting some positions, or to put in banners and so on. So if you're having good, valuable content, you can make money from it. And there are a lot of people who told me that, yeah, actually, I can have it for living, and without any problem, I can actually survive for this money and have a good life, and I can basically manage all my expenses with this. So why not to do this? So one important thing is you have to make a good content. So many people try their blogs and they say, okay, it failed, I didn't get a lot of users, but sometimes the problem is that you didn't have a good content, or you had content and you didn't post it consistently, or people were waiting for it and you didn't do it. So you should be always committed with what you are doing, otherwise it doesn't make sense even to start with it. You can be a self-entrepreneur. This is probably one of the scariest things that people think, okay, I don't know what to do with this, but a lot of people became entrepreneurs by themselves, and what they are doing, they sometimes take a project from their own idea, but I got a very interesting point of view that you can just go to the marketplaces and say, what do you need? I can offer you something, and maybe you get idea from that people and you will have a client for your job. So you can think about this in the different directions. So if you actually decided to create an application, first rule, if you are thinking about name it's very simple, because it will help you to find this application in the App Store quite fast. Also, you need to make an application that will solve one issue. A lot of people try to target so many people, but there are so many apps that target so many people. So if you find the niche, you will be very successful, because niche applications are the key in current market. You can be a content creator. What does this mean? What does this mean, content creator? So you can be a video blogger, or you can be just a blogger, and you will create a lot of content for people who will use it. So content creator is an actual job, and a lot of companies also searching for people who create content for their resources. Sometimes it can be developer websites, sometimes it can be magazine, journals, and so on, and they are searching for people who will provide them information about the tech. So this can be also something that you can consider if you want to actually change something in your life. You can be a complete newbie. This is also fine. You're going to completely different direction. I know people who were developers and they become pilot, and they were super, super happy about this, because they say, okay, I was just having enough of this and I just want to try. But of course you have a lot of kind of fears and you don't know if you're doing the right choice, but come on. Actually, nowadays, you have such a screaming market of developers, and if you feel like, okay, this new profession is not working, you always can come back. But in 20 years, you will wake up and be like, okay, I didn't try what I really wanted because I was afraid of losing my job, and I'm pretty sure we live now in society when this will be a very rare situation that you will die from hunger if you don't go to the developer, not becoming a developer. So most of the people who did this jump, they were saying, okay, it was not just jumping into the new position. It was a gradual step. So I started to go to work 4 days a week. Then I moved to freelance. Then I started to work only 50% of my time, and 50% I was doing something else, and so on and so forth. And then it's not that scary anymore, because you think, okay, I can manage it. You can become a student, and in Europe we know that the student is for free, so you can use this opportunity. You can find a student grant, and I know people who found student grants for different technologies in different professions. They could even find a job or a student program for a completely different field that they were in. You can become a teacher. With teacher, it can be a little bit complicated, because for teacher, you have to have a special education for that. But in general, if you want to become a teacher, you can be at least teacher for the beginner classes. So you can go to school and start to work with kids. For university, you need to have degree, but it also will be additional degree on top of your degree, so it will take for 2 years maybe to become a teacher, and you need to also write a work for that. But I guess it's kind of a thing if you always thought about become a professor, or become a kind of cool guy. Also scientist. I was meeting Graham Lee for a long time ago, and was super excited about the work he was doing in community, and he was a great iOS developer. And then I talked to him this time, and I asked him, Graham, what's up? What happened to you? Why actually this happened that you disappear from radars? And he said, you know, Kate, I became a scientist. And for me, it was like, wow, interesting. And what are you doing? For me, scientist is something like always crazy stuff. And he said, no, we are searching for solutions for other companies to do. And basically, he shared so much information with me about how they are finding money for that. And science is quite interesting. You can do incredible things if you find the place where you can apply those things. So you go to university, it's kind of accelerator for you in a way, and you create solution with help of university, with help of great minds there, and then you start to create some solution, and your problem is to find somebody who will use this solution. Or sometimes you find somebody who want to use solution and then create it. So it can be super interesting to work as a scientist in university, and I was also kind of considering myself to do it part-time because it looks super exciting, and I was asking, is it very complicated to find money for that? Because to me, science looked like, okay, it can be tricky. And he said, no, you know, if you do a real thing, if you do a good, great job, then it's quite easy to do. You can become a manager. This is very obvious thing, that's what I was doing actually, but yeah, I don't have a lot of tips here because it really depends of the company you're working in, depends of your personal skills. Sometimes people don't like to manage people, sometimes people like just want to stay developers and so on. So here is a complicated choice sometimes because managing people can be tricky, especially in technical field. What else you can do? You can become a consultant. What consultant mean? From my understanding was always like consultant go to company and say them what to do. And I didn't think that it can be actually different things. So what consultant is usually doing, like super broad thing. First of all, it's one-on-ones. So sometimes company come to consultant and say, we have people, we want to educate them, can you take them and educate? So you have one-on-ones. You can create workshops for companies. I also never thought about this. I thought like, okay, you go and you just help them with solutions, but actually you can do workshops for them and they can pay for you for that. There is one meaning like implementation consulting. In this case, you implement some solution for them. So you actually do coding, provide them some simple solution, and they grow on top of this. It can be hybrid. It can be designing the solution without the implementation, and also only the last point when you check the client's work. So if you think that as a consultant, you go to company and will check what other people was working on, it's the rarest thing that as a consultant you will do. At least from like 5 consultant people like on the top of the market that I talked to, they say that this would be the rarest thing that you will have. So, and I was like saying, okay, if I want to become a consultant, what should I say? And he was like, how many people know what you're doing? And I was like, okay, my mom, my brother, my friends. He was like, yeah, but do you have a statement? What are you doing? And I couldn't find a statement. And then he said, okay, then you are not ready to be a consultant. Because consultants, usually they have very specific niche they are consulting into. And if you really want to do this, you need to find yourself, like this core of you, where you're actually a professional, where you can help people. Also what he suggested is to find clients by yourself. So if you have a client that would be interested in your knowledge, that would be much, much easier for you to find a job, because you say, okay, I can cover this and this and this, and you go to these companies and say, well, I can help you. And this way you can find job much easier for yourself. So, conclusions. Are there any conclusions that we have? Okay, I will help you. So, first thing that I figure out, if you have this kind of feeling, if you have this kind of hard time for yourself, always talk to people, because people usually went through the same thing. And they sometimes can talk you out of something that you would do a big mistake, or they can help you to find yourself. And this is very important, because actually I decided on a lot of things after I talked to people while preparing this talk. So they gave me a lot of suggestion on my career there. Make a short statement on what you are and what you want to do, and create a vision for yourself. This is very important. And the moment when I took my time and just were sitting thinking, okay, Kate, what do you want to do? How you want to grow next? What will be what will be the Kate in 5 years? A lot of questions just disappeared because I was confused. Did I become a manager? Because I was super afraid to become a manager, because I had this thought, okay, I probably will forget how to code, and I will never be able to come back to this. And I was super scary about this. And at some point, I was like, I just try it. And if I will fail it, I will start over, but I think it's not a big deal, because I really want to try it. And when I decided this to myself, okay, I can do this, then I want to go to educational field, and then I want to promote myself, and then I want to create my own project. And when I had this kind of picture in front of my eyes, I was like, okay, well, now I'm not afraid of doing anything. So when you have the picture, it's really helpful for you to figure out what you want to do. And most often advised that people who change their job or change something in their career, they were saying okay, stop complaining, because you like to complain. Stop complaining and just start to do something about this. Because if you just complain and don't do anything, nothing changes. So this would be small talk about this, and that's it.